Hello guys and girls, and welcome back to another episode of Seb Talks Sports, sponsored by Memsham UK, the place to go to for brand new, authentic signed NFL memorabilia. That intro music and podcast theme was created by All-Pro New York Giants running back, now music creator and friend of the show, David Wilson. Go and check him out on all of his social media platforms at For Still Running on Twitter and Instagram, and his music under David E. Wilson across all good music streaming services. He's free for business, so drop him a message if you want some beats for your podcast, advert, commercial, absolutely anything you need. Before I get into this episode, I just want to say that if you're not already following Seb Talks Sports across all platforms, then please do. You can find me on Facebook, Seb Talks Sports, YouTube, Seb Talks Sports, Twitter at Seb Talks Sports, and Instagram where I'm primarily active. Again, it's at Seb Talks Sports. Today I've got another throwback episode for you all, and what a guest it is. It's a retired NFL wide receiver who played over 100 games in the league for the Detroit Lions and most prominently the Chicago Bears, and contributed in the biggest game of them all, the Super Bowl. It's the fantastic Rashied Davis. Enjoy. My guest today is a retired NFL wide receiver who spent 7 years on the Chicago Bears and Detroit Lions, alongside some of the best talent we've seen in the modern era, and even contributed in the biggest game of them all, the Super Bowl. It's a pleasure to welcome Rashied Davis to Seb Talk Sports. Rashied, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me, Seb.
You're very welcome. Thanks for coming on. Okay, so let's go right back to the beginning. What are your earliest memories of playing sport and football, and how do you end up becoming a wide receiver / cornerback?
Oh, this is a long story, man. I'll make it as short as I can make it. But my earliest memories of playing football are in the streets of LA. I grew up in Los Angeles, California. I currently live in Chicago. I'm one of 9 kids.
Wow.
And so I have 6 brothers. 3 older brothers and 3 younger brothers, an older sister and a younger sister. And so I'm number 5 of the 9. And I don't know, man, I've been fast as long as I can remember. So my brothers, when I don't know if you have any brothers or older siblings, sisters or whatnot, but in my experience, when you have a skill, they tend to either beat you up for it or they show you off for it, right? So I was showed off for the fact that I could run really fast as long as I could remember. And so whenever anybody came to our neighborhood and wanted to race, Rashied, get out there, go get him. You know what I mean? They thought it was fast. And so that's where it all began. And I just remember being in the first grade, racing all the fast kids that I knew of in my elementary school and beating all of them. So I've been fast as long as I can remember. And then, other sports kicked in. We started playing basketball, and as you get older, and so my earliest memory of football is playing in the streets of LA from about age 7 on, and running into the back of cars because there are cars on the road, parked on the street, and guys would get so focused on the football that they would, when the pass would go up, and they would just keep focusing on it and just smack into the back of the car. So that's my earliest. I think that's where my toughness was developed.
Okay, so you're quite a unique player in that you spent your college career at 2 different colleges, being West LA College and then San Jose State after that. What did you learn from your time before becoming a pro, and what was the reason for switching colleges?
Well, there's a junior college system in the States, and then there's the university system. And I didn't play football in high school like most people. I didn't start playing football until junior college. And so because of that, that's why I made that transition. So if you're someone like me who's just beginning and you don't have any scholarship offers or anything like that from the universities, you would go there. Or even if you're someone who wants to continue playing beyond high school, you would go to a junior college in hopes to try and earn a scholarship, right? Or you could be a bounce back from a university and you're transferring somewhere else and you want to continue your career for whatever reason. And so I started at the junior college. My very beginning of playing tackle football was there. And I ended up being good enough and developing well enough over the first 2 years of my career to then be offered a scholarship to San Jose State University. And then from there, I just kept getting better. I kept my speed was obviously there because it's been there since, I can remember. But then the training and then the learning, the discipline, the understanding the game of football, I was behind, but I was a gym rat and pretty intelligent. So I could pick the things up that I needed to know. And in terms of strategy and understanding of the game, and because football is more like chess, not checkers, there's a lot of pieces like a chessboard, right? You have your pawns, they do specific things. You have your rooks, you have your knights, they all do specific things. Same thing on the football field. And so you have your O linemen, D linemen, receivers, running backs, and whatnot that do different things. And so I was able to, because I've always been very athletic and that stuff comes natural to me, I could watch other people and sort of emulate them. So I modeled my style after some of the guys that I was playing with that were really, really good. I just was lucky to play around some really good players. And so I just emulated what they were doing until I was able to develop my own.
Okay, so after your college days, you obviously went to the NFL and had a long career. So in the 2006 offseason, your quarterback Rex Grossman stated that you were one of the hardest workers on the entire roster, and that preseason performance gave you a roster spot for the regular season. Who was it that installed that hard work ethic in you, and how important do you think it is to set an example for younger players?
My mom is an inspiration for me because, my life was hard, but hers was much harder. Being a Black American here in the United States and having to deal with what we had to deal with, and her having to deal with what she had to deal with in the 60s and 70s and whatnot. My dad, but he died when I was very young. Football for me was an oasis. Unlike other people, like it was a lot easier than my everyday life, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
We're in these times. I'm wearing a Justice for Ahmaud Arbery hat, and so I've lived through police raids, no-knock warrants. I've lived through police brutality. So my life was hard. I lived around gangs, drugs, violence, and all of that other stuff. So I had to navigate all of those things. And when I got onto the football field, I didn't have to think about any of that stuff. When I got onto the football field, it was just me and the field and the other guys that I was playing against. So all I had to do was really focus on that. So for me, football wasn't real life per se. It was just a time for me to get away from all the negative things that were going on. And then the biggest thing for me, I have a faith in God. So that was one. And then the other was, I'm so competitive. I'm just like, I just want to win. If we're doing anything that's competitive that, I expect to be good at, I want to win. So if I'm losing, I'm going to do whatever I need to figure out how to beat you. Yeah. Right? I don't give a dang if you're 6'9", 350 pounds, and I'm 5'9" and 3/4. 185 pounds. If I have a job to do, I'm going to figure out how to utilize whatever I can to get that job done. Versus you, 6'9", 350 pounds. I'm going to figure out how to win. So I'm going to use my skill set to get the job done.
Football's like a form of escapism for you.
Yeah, sports in general is a form of escapism. Other people turn to drugs and things like that. I saw too much of that and was really afraid of that, and knew how drugs could change a person. So I saw a lot of that, and alcohol, the same thing. And I really don't have an addictive type personality, like where some people, they do things and they get really hooked to them really quickly. Only thing that I've ever been hooked to is playing sports. And so that's how it just became this escapism for me to go and clear my mind and then process whatever I have to do after that.
So you've played with some of the greatest players in NFL history. Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs, Devin Hester, Orlando Pace, Julius Peppers, Calvin Johnson, some of the best players to ever step on a field. Who would you say was the best player you've ever played with? And as a wide receiver, who was the hardest corner to beat?
That's a tough one. It's hard to pinpoint one person because I don't think you can, because football, different positions are so dynamic. They're so different. Brian Urlacher was phenomenal at what he did, but so was Lance Briggs, who was a perfect complement to him.
Yeah.
You know, Calvin Johnson's the best receiver that I've ever been around. Calvin Johnson he was a freak of nature. Like, if you play video games, I've played video games pretty much my whole life. And when they began to allow you to create players, he was the guy I created. Like, 6'6", 230-pound, 3% body fat, runs a 4.3 40 wide receiver. That's Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, the size of that guy, and he's like built like a tight end, but he was still running routes quicker than most wide receivers. Like, it's just
amazing. And that was, to me, he's one of the most physically gifted players that I've ever been around. That's just a gift. Like, you don't even have to work for that. But he, on top of having those physical attributes, he was the hardest working receiver that I've ever been around. And I worked my ass off, but he could outwork me. And so he's just phenomenal, man. Just a phenomenal human being.
Yeah.
And just a phenomenal athlete. Larry Fitzgerald had the best hands that I've ever seen. Like, his hands, he could catch anything, anywhere. I don't care if it was dark and the ball was black. He could probably catch it. Larry Fitzgerald has some phenomenal hand-eye coordination and just skill set. And I think the only person that I would say could rival him right now in today's game is probably DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins has phenomenal hands. In terms of corners that I played against some greats. Charles Woodson, he was phenomenal. Al Harris, when he was there with Woodson, was also a really good hard corner to play against. But one of the most opportunistic corners that I've ever played against, and I've said this to many people over the years, was Asante Samuel, who played for the Patriots and the Eagles. And I think he may have played somewhere else after that. But Asante Samuel was so opportunistic, and he was so intelligent, and he just knew when to take a chance. He actually picked me off once. I wasn't, that sucked, but...
Okay, so let's talk about coaches quickly. You've played in some incredible football minds. Ron Rivera is your DC during your first year in Chicago. Ron Turner, Lovie Smith, Darryl Drake, Scott Linehan, and then Super Bowl champions Mike Martz and Jim Schwartz. So some of the best talent in terms of football minds we've seen recently. How much did they impact your game as a wide receiver, and how much did they have an impact on your role?
Mike Martz, of course, had a huge impact on me when I played for him, because he was in charge of the offense. So if he wanted me out there, I was out there. Ron Turner was also a huge impact. He gave me my first opportunity in the NFL to play wide receiver, because when I came in, I was a corner. And then they lobbied to move me over to offense. And when they did that, he gave me an opportunity to really, really play, where a guy in my position typically didn't get that chance, because of guys who were drafted or other guys that were brought in. Ron Turner he can play, put him on the field. He was huge, and I learned a lot from playing with him. Mike Martz was he's probably one of the greatest football minds that I've ever been around. He understands the game of football. He understands little subtle nuances. He sees things that others don't see, and he can create unique ways to take advantage of a defense. So he was awesome to play with. Ron Turner was a phenomenal defensive mind, and I played under him my rookie year with the Bears as a corner. He was great. Lovie Smith. All of these people were students of the game. The difference between, I say, Lovie and Ron was that Ron was a high-level player as well.
Yeah.
So he also understood the athletes, the pro athlete's mindset.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of coaches don't necessarily get that, because they haven't been in that experience. Coaches that haven't been in it and had to fight it out and had to dig down deep and figure it out, I think have a harder time understanding why guys do what they do on the field.
Yeah, because obviously if you've played yourself, you've got both perspectives.
Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that just because you played, you will be a phenomenal coach. Because some people can't teach. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. Phenomenal players, but didn't really seem to grasp onto the coaching side of it, right? Because it's one thing to be able to do something. It's another thing to be able to break it down to its simplest form and explain it to someone in a language that they can understand.
Yeah.
Ron Rivera was able to do that.
Okay, so let's quickly talk some Super Bowl because you played in the biggest game of all. 4th of February 2007, Super Bowl 41, Bears v Colts. You're coming off a 13-3 season as the top seed in the NFC, and then you take to the field in Miami in the biggest sporting event in the world, and you have 2 targets and a reception. Can you describe just how it felt to play in the Super Bowl and what it meant to you?
Oh, it's giving me chills remembering it. To be able to play in a game that's the pinnacle of your sport is a tremendous blessing and a tremendous opportunity that I really never thought that I would have. And so when it came, I was just so excited to be able to fulfill that dream, because I know so many people that play the game that are much better players, greater statistical players than I ever could attest to be, that never got a chance to even go to the playoffs, let alone play in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And so I definitely appreciated that opportunity. It was so much fun to say I have a catch in the Super Bowl is an even greater thing, right? Even though it wasn't for much and we ended up losing the game. But to be there, it was just a beautiful thing, which is why I don't understand. How do I want to say this? Which is why I'm so impressed with the New England Patriots, because they've been able to do it so frequently. It's just so impressive because the NFL it was hard to get there. And that was one of my hardest letdowns. My biggest letdowns was losing, because immediately after the game, I just remember thinking, damn, no one's going to know how hard it was for us to get here. No one's going to remember how hard we worked and everything that had to bounce our direction in order for us to get to this point. And so, I don't know, I've always been a realist. And so that was my first thought coming off the field.
I think it's fair to say there's no shame in losing to Peyton Manning, though.
No, there's no shame in losing the Super Bowl at all. There's no shame in achieving something so great. And so I'm not ashamed of it. It's just, it's a disappointment. One of the things that I've learned in life that I think has propelled me so far is I've learned to take a loss and turn it into a lesson. Right? Like, look at losses. And so what I tell my own kids, I have 2 kids. I have a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old. And I tell them to put an E and an N on the word loss, because every loss, there's a lesson in it. I don't give a dang if the lesson is huge, staring you right in the face, or it's a little small lesson. That lesson is more important than everything else that happened. Yeah. It's the most important thing, because then you can get better. You can change. You can do something different to help you not lose the next time, to win the next opportunity you get, or it just gives you an inner strength. Yeah. That loss helps solidify you and build grit in you to understand that, I lost, but I'm still alive. I can still walk, I can still move forward. I can still do these things.
No, I really, really like that. That's a really great mentality to have. Okay, let's quickly touch on your time in Detroit. So you then spent a year on the Lions playing with some great players, Megatron, Ndamukong Suh, Chris Harris, and also Stephon Logan, who I recently interviewed.
Oh, yeah, I like that guy. That's my guy.
Yeah.
And don't forget Matthew Stafford. Stafford's a good player.
Stafford, he's still there. He's still still doing his thing. So how did you find your time playing on the Lions as opposed to the Bears? And what was it like living in Detroit compared to Chicago?
Detroit is much different than Chicago. Actually, Detroit is in a much better position now than it was back in 2011. But it was fun. It was actually one of the most fun years that I've ever had playing football. Because I was around in that receiver room, and even on the defensive side with Louis Delmas and those guys, they were just a bunch of good guys. All they wanted to do was win, and we were trying to figure out how to make that happen. And actually, that year, we were able to do so, going to the playoffs and losing to the Saints in New Orleans. It's a hard place to play, but
absolutely.
It was one of my most memorable seasons playing up in Detroit. I loved every moment of it. Little known fact, I grew up a Detroit Lions fan in LA. Huge Barry Sanders fan, so I was able to meet Barry Sanders and even have a conversation with a guy that I grew up sort of admiring, and so it was just a tremendous opportunity and a tremendous year to be able to share that with my wife and kids at the time, who were really young, who probably don't remember any of it, but at least I got to do it.
Okay, so as a former Bear, I want to ask you quickly about the current quarterback situation. So you've got first-round pick Mitchell Trubisky entering his 4th season, and now Nick Foles from my Jags is brought in to compete for the starting job. Do you see it as a 50-50 chance that either guy will get the starting job? How do you think Matt Nagy should approach it?
I think it's a 50-50 chance, 100%. In my opinion, it's a 50-50 chance. I think if Matt Nagy, and he's a smart guy, here's another thing, another fact. Matt Nagy and I played against each other in arena football.
Whoa, no way. I love it.
I think we beat him. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember the score or anything like that. But I think he's a great coach, very intelligent. I think it would benefit them greatly to make it a competition.
Yeah.
And not just hand it to either one of them. Foles obviously has his issues with health, and I pray that Foles can get healthy and remain healthy for an entire season, whether he's on the backup or whether he's the starter. I think Trubisky's a tremendous person. He's a good person. He really, really wants to win, and he's doing everything I think he knows how to win, but he's got some things that he's got to work on. He's got to tweak. He's got to be courageous. He's got to be more courageous, not in the sense of toughness. I think a lot of people think about sports and they think about, especially when you think about football, you think about physical toughness. And I don't think that's his problem. I think he's a tremendously gifted and tremendously tough player, but being courageous in the sense that he has to pull a trigger.
Yeah. Go deep every once in a while.
Every once in a while, he should I throw it? Should I throw it? And he can't do that at this level. He's got to be able to get over the fear of making a mistake, get over the fear of throwing an interception, and just fire that thing in there. He needs to be a little bit like Jameis Winston. Just a little bit though.
Maybe 15 interceptions rather than 30, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, just take like 10% of Jameis Winston. Just take 10%. Don't fire it everywhere, but just let it go. Yeah. And then let his athletic abilities take over. Nick Foles just has to remain healthy.
Yeah.
If he ends up being the starter and he can remain healthy, then I think he'll have a good season because he's proven that he can play. But Matt Nagy, I also think Matt Nagy and Pace they're going to deal with a lot of controversy if either one of them isn't playing well. And so I don't know if they know what they've signed up for.
Yeah.
Because Chicago fans are brutal, can be brutal. They're great fans, but they can be brutal. And they can be very impatient. Say, for instance, Trubisky goes out and he's playing and they're doing well, they'll be fine. But if he goes out in his first game and lays an egg, there are going to be calls to put Foles in, right? Then the next time he goes out, and if he does okay, there are going to be calls. Like it's going to continue to build.
Yeah.
And by week 4, they're going to be full-on protesting to get him out of the game if he's not playing well, if they're not winning. It won't take long.
Yeah, because we see that with rookies now. Say Tua in Miami. So we're seeing that he's going to sit behind Ryan Fitzpatrick for a few games. But if Ryan goes out and lays an egg in week 1 or 2, they're going to be calling for him to come in week 3. So it's a matter of time, isn't it? There's only so long a leash.
Whether he's ready or not. Look at, was it Dwayne Haskins in Washington? He wasn't ready to play, but the calls were put him in, play him. And the team is sucking. He needs this experience. And there's 2 schools of thought. Get him out there, let him get in the fire. He'll get over it, and he'll get some experience, and it'll benefit him. But then there's also, if you put him out there and he doesn't have success, it's going to ruin his confidence, and then, he won't be able to succeed. And I don't think you can argue which way is better. It depends on the player. It depends on the person. If you have someone with supreme confidence, and it doesn't matter what happens, they're unshakable, then either way, they're going to go out there and they're going to do what they're capable of doing, whether that is good or bad. They're going to do what they're capable of doing. But then there are other people who feed off, and I would put myself in this category, feed off the successes. And so for me in a game, I need to be involved in the game plan early, because once I'm involved in the game plan, then I start to feed off the successes. I know I'm going to have success and I can feed off of them. But if I'm only getting to play here or there and I'm getting the ball here and there, I have a tougher time getting into a rhythm, and it makes it harder for me to build the confidence that I need to go and do all the things that I need to do. I need to be capable of doing.
Yeah. I just see that Bryant jersey behind you on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I'm a Lakers fan.
Nice one. Just want to ask you a quick question about Kobe. How much did Kobe mean to you growing up?
Oh, man.
What does Kobe mean to you and his legacy?
His legacy is phenomenal for me. I grew up in L.A., And Kobe was a year older than me. So we were sort of coming of age at the same time. And obviously he was achieving well beyond what I could have dreamed to achieve at the time. But I sort of feel like I grew up watching him. Like we grew up at the same time of age, and I saw him become the man that everybody loved, then despised when he got in trouble, and then sort of come back from that and then become the great family man that he became, and loving his children as much as loving his wife as much as he loved her, and recovering from the mistake that he made earlier in his career. And so it hurt a lot when he passed for me because, one, I grew up a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of the Lakers. Two, because I was coaching my daughter the day he died. My wife and my family were coming back from a basketball tournament where I was coaching my daughter in a game, and I got a text message saying Kobe Bryant died. And immediately I thought, because I knew he coached his daughter, I hope she wasn't with him.
Yeah.
And as we were on our road trip, it took us about 6 hours to get back home. You know, more and more messages were coming to my phone, and my wife was reading things, and so it, I found out that his daughter was on the helicopter with him, and kind of broke down. It hurt. Yeah. But this jersey was actually in storage. I never had it hanging up.
Oh, really?
I've had it for probably 10 years, and it's never hung up until this year because I felt I had to pull it out.
Okay, I'm going to end with some quick fire questions. You ready?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs. Cats are the shepherds for the devil.
Twitter or Instagram?
IG.
Biggie or Tupac?
Tupac. I'm a Cali kid, but I like Biggie too.
Favorite sports film of all time?
Probably Remember the Titans.
Okay, MJ or LeBron?
I'll go LeBron.
Ooh.
Well, I'm a Laker fan, so I'm more of a Magic Johnson fan. Him, I actually look, I grew up a Laker fan in LA, and this is when Michael was doing his thing, and I hated Michael so much that I would say if I had a car, if I were old enough to drive, and walking down the street, I would hit him with my car. Just young, dumb kid things. But I respect Michael. I respect everything about the man he's becoming. But for me, the reason I say LeBron, I still think Michael is the better player, in my opinion. But I like LeBron. He's just a better individual. He's a better person. He is everything that, at least from what we see.
Yeah.
We don't know what his private life is like. We don't know any of that. But from what we see, he is everything that we say in sports culture that we want an athlete to be. He's socially conscious.
Yeah.
He's unafraid to use his platform to help what he thinks is good. He puts his money where his mouth is, but not just putting his money there. He puts his skin on the line. Like, he'll go out in the community and he'll go out and do. He's a family man. He, at least, like I said, from what I know, he's a family man, and he's very intelligent. He's got very good instincts. He may not say the right words all the time or use them properly. He's very intelligent, very, very, and he's thoughtful. He thinks about what he's saying before he says it, and he processes on a very high level. He processes a lot of information on a very high level. And so I respect that about him.
I guess, like, if you focus specifically on the court, you've got him doing it in Miami as well as Cleveland, and MJ only really had success in Chicago. So I guess there's that as well.
Yeah, for me, everything is everything. When I'm talking about liking a person, an athlete, I look at everything. I look the whole view. Give me the whole view.
Yeah.
I can respect what someone does on the court or on the field or on whatever their sport is, and I can respect that. But when it comes to me liking you and being a fan of yours, for me, it takes everything for me to say, you know what? That's a guy I can go and hang out with, and I can truly, we can have a conversation on more than a surface level.
Yeah. Last quick fire question. If I offered you a Super Bowl title, but it meant you were a Green Bay Packer, would you take it?
I'm gonna lose some Bears fans, but yes.
Yeah, you would. Yeah. All right.
Well, no, only if I were playing in the game. If I'm not playing in the game, I wouldn't want to sit on the bench and take that trophy. Although I would wear the ring, but no, I would like to.
Yeah.
If I'm playing, I'll take a championship with the Green Bay Packers.
Nice one. Rashied, thank you so much for your time today. I've had a great time chatting to you. Where can people find you on social media and get involved?
Oh, you can find me on social media at SHIED. What is it? 25? No.
Yeah, 25, yeah.
Yeah, Sheed 25. Yeah, so the last five letters of my name, Rashied, SHIED 25. That used to be my number in college, so that's why it's 25. Nice. On Instagram, I don't have Twitter. I don't have Facebook. I don't even really like social media all that much. I just use it as a platform to try and spread anti-racism. Yeah. Number one, I'm against racism. I think it's not enough to not be racist. I think you have to be anti-racism. Yeah. And I'm for equality for everybody. So I try to use my platform to spread that, and then positive things, and show my children and having fun, and my dog running around doing crazy things. So, but then also I have a charitable organization to follow, Saturday Place. Nice. Saturday Place is it, and then the website is SaturdayPlace.org. Our charitable organization focuses on 3rd and 4th grade Chicago public school students who are performing a year below grade level. Our aim is to get them at or above grade level by the time they leave our program. So check us out at SaturdayPlace.org. You can check us out at Saturday Place on IG. On Twitter, it's Saturday_Place. Saturday Place on Facebook as well.
Wonderful. I'll leave all your links below as well so people can find you very easily.
I appreciate that, sir. It's been a pleasure talking to you, man.
And you. Cheers. Thank you so much for your time. And your social media, what you're doing on there, using your platform for good is really, really inspiring. So keep it up. I'm looking forward to seeing the continued posts.
You're welcome, man. Thank you for reaching out. Appreciate it.
That was my interview with the brilliant Rashied Davis, an incredible guy both on and off the field. It was great to get some insight into his earliest memories of football, Super Bowl experience, and even what the late, great Kobe Bryant means to him. He's also got very strong views on cats, which was interesting to find out. Make sure you go and check out Rashied and his fantastic charity both across social media and on their website. All the links you need are in the description of this episode. I've got many more great guests coming very soon, so stay tuned right here on SebTalksSports. And to take us out as usual, here's another brilliant track by All-Pro New York Giants running back, turned music creator and friend of the show, David Wilson. Catch you soon, guys.